Hello, Professor Didi here. Today I am going to talk about the executive branch of government, presidential government, and also talk about bureaucracy and how that plays into everything for our class, Political Science 111, Introduction to Political Science. Presidential government is where the legislative and executive branches are independent and elected separately from each other. Each branch has little control over the other, and the system has a lot less flexibility. Responsibility is more defined in presidential government. Think about our Constitution. Two offices, the head of state and the chief of government, are fused in the presidential system into one. But in the parliamentary system, there are two offices. Presidents perform a greater number of symbolic functions. American presidents have a more diverse set of backgrounds than prime ministers in a parliamentary system. Recruitment of leaders is even different. Presidents in our country have come from the military, governorships, business, the legislative branch, etc. Cohabitation in France involves having a president and prime minister who are not of the same political party. A strong leader, men like de Gaulle, men like Reagan, men like Eisenhower and Roosevelt, make the system work. Presidential government owes its origins to the monarchy of Europe. Executive power was in the monarchy, not in the legislative branch. The idea of separate spheres of influence of the executive and legislature is in the Constitution, with the creation of the office of president, which is in Article 2. Presidential government is associated with republican systems of government in the Americas. And presidential systems, unlike parliamentary systems, neither the executive nor the legislative branches of government can really remove the other, except in America we do have the impeachment process. Executive and legislative powers are separate in the presidential system, but fused in a parliamentary system of government. The president does not propose bills in America, but the president has the power to veto acts of the legislature. France and Mexico are presidential systems. Countries with a presidential system are not exclusive users of the title of president or republican form of government. Many parliamentary governments have ceremonial presidents, such as in countries like Germany and in Italy and in India. Political parties are weaker and looser in this type of system. More compromise is needed to get things done, as we've seen with the situation with President Biden. But it can also cause conflict when there's a split in the control of government. Some of the traits of the presidential system include a direct mandate. In a presidential system, the president is often elected directly by the people. To some, this makes the presidency seem more legitimate than a leader appointed indirectly. In the U.S., the president's elected by the Electoral College. In our country, we have a separation of powers where each of the two systems and each of the three branches of government have separate distinctive powers: the legislative branch of government, the executive and judicial branches. In our system, there's a lot more stability. A president has a fixed term. We know when his term will end and when elections will occur. In our system, we also have the power to pardon people and commute sentences of convicted criminals. But some of the cons of the system, people say, is it tends towards authoritarianism. Some say the system is not constitutionally stable and often has fallen into authoritarianism. Russia has a presidential system. The American system sets the branches against each other. Another con is one of the pros: separation of powers. Less accountability by allowing the president and the legislature to blame each other when things go wrong. Presidents are not responsible to the legislature and serve fixed terms. A parliamentary system seems to unify power at times. A presidential system can fragment it. There's also impediments to leadership change. Some difficulty in removing bad presidents from office before their terms expire. That's a significant problem. Also, with presidents, they're like football quarterbacks. They get too much blame when things go wrong and not enough credit when things go well. The U.S. system needs a strong president to function effectively. Also, another con at times is the cabinet. The cabinet in America is the heads of the various agencies of the bureaucracy. In Britain, they come from the legislative branch. In America, they can come from a variety of places: mayors, governors, business leaders, things like that. Members of the cabinet serve at the pleasure of the president and have to carry out the functions of what the president wants to do. Some presidential systems require legislative approval of cabinet nominees. A president generally has the power to direct members of the cabinet, military, or other employees of the executive branch. New cabinet departments in the United States need to be authorized and funded by Congress. In Western Europe, prime ministers can just create new cabinet officers. In a parliamentary system, as I mentioned, cabinet officers come from the parliament. In a presidential system, they can come from a variety of places. One thing I want to mention about presidential government, and it relates to the idea of the imperial presidency. And a lot of people talk, why is Congress so weak? And in many ways, it comes down to the imperial presidency of the Congress turning over a lot of power to the presidency. In other words, they punt. They don't want to deal with the tough issues. If things go wrong, Congress can say, well, the president screwed up, it's not our fault. Bureaucracy. The definition of bureaucracy is any large organization of appointed officials who implement laws and policies which operate under the rules and procedures. A bureaucracy is organized into a hierarchy and provides supervision to the government. I want you to think about this very important thing. Bureaucracies happen in government. They also happen in corporate America and in the workplace. The key is managing around it. Other officials come and go, like presidents and Congress, but the bureaucrats spend their career in government. They have a lot of expertise. They know where things are, and they know how to get things done. Reform is difficult in a bureaucracy because people hate change. Why do we have to do things differently? Why can't we just keep doing what we're doing? Knowledge is power in bureaucracy. The bureaucrats know the ropes and know how to get things done. Control of information equals power. Bureaucracy runs the government, is responsible for administering government programs and policies. Why does government have so many public employees? Career civil servants make the bureaucracy. Government's big. You need people to run these programs. You just can't hire someone off the street to run a nuclear regulatory commission. You have to have people with the knowledge there. In 1950, there were 7 million government employees. Today, there are well over 22 million because the role of government's grown so much. In America, our bureaucracy has grown, but we depend on it so much. We may hate the government, but when we call, we want the government to solve our problem. Government's gone through a variety of things in our history, such as the patronage system and the spoils system, which has created some problems. What is the role of implementation of policy on citizens? Most civil servants work at the state and local levels of government, and government decisions impact citizens. What is going to happen? One thing people talk about at times when it comes to bureaucracy and types of government is socialism. If you're going to have pure socialism, you need a lot of government employees. In communist countries like Russia and in China, you need large amounts of government employees. In Britain, large amounts of government employees to make things run, such as national health insurance and things like that. And in many bureaucracies, that's where the power is. The bureaucrats implement the policy, but they can also drag it out forever and ever and ever. I will give you some free career advice. Get a job working for state and local government. You never hear about government employees getting laid off. The benefits are good. The employment packages are good. The days off are good. And it gives you a lot of power in career advancement. One of the problems in bureaucracy is everyone hates bureaucracy. The U.S. bureaucracy is often the target of harsh political rhetoric. People want bureaucracy to work. The key to making government work well is when people feel that the bureaucracy is working well. You need, in bureaucracy, honest conversations about leaders and policy, doing what the law says, getting good feedback and expert advice. You need flexibility in policy. Sometimes there's a rule that has to be followed, but it may not work in that situation. You need efficiency in bureaucracy. That's why bureaucracy is so important and critical. It's what makes things go. Next time, I'll talk about the courts and a variety of other things as we get ready to conclude this semester. Take care. Have a great day.